Good afternoon. Regarding the 2025 Sharia Special Bar examinations, the grades of the examinees are now available at the Barista app. The list of passers in the top 10 will be posted on the Supreme Court website. Next, the Supreme Court has ruled that the House impeachment complaint versus VP Sara Duterte is barred by the one-year rule, and that due process or fairness applies during all stages of the impeachment process. I quote, "Our fundamental law is clear. The end does not justify the means." Another quote, "There is a right way to do the right things at the right time. This is what the rule of just law means. This is what fairness or due process of law means, even for impeachment." End of quote. In a unanimous decision today, July 25, 2025, the Supreme Court en banc declared the articles of impeachment against Vice President Sara Duterte unconstitutional, noting that it is barred by the one-year rule under Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution, and that it violates the right to due process enshrined in the Bill of Rights. Therefore, the Senate did not acquire jurisdiction over the impeachment proceedings. However, the court said it is not absolving Vice President Duterte from any of the charges against her, but any subsequent impeachment complaint may only be filed starting February 6, 2026. The case stemmed from 4 impeachment complaints against Vice President Duterte. The first 3 were filed before the House by private individuals and different groups on December 2, 4, and 19 in 2024. A 4th complaint was lodged by a resolution approved by more than 1/3 of the House members of the 19th Congress on February 5, 2025, which was transmitted as the articles of impeachment to the Senate on the same day. This was followed by 2 petitions filed before the Supreme Court challenging its constitutionality. The Supreme Court decision, written by Senior Associate Justice Marvick M.D.F. Leonen, ruled that all legal issues involving impeachment proceedings are subject to judicial review, considering the nature of the offices and the institutions that are subject to impeachment, its effect on the independence of constitutional departments and organs, and its nature as a constitutional process. The impeachment process is primarily a legal and constitutional procedure, but with political characteristics. It may be sui generis, but it is not a purely political proceeding. This means that the Bill of Rights, especially the Due Process Clause and the right to speedy disposition of cases, applies to the entire impeachment process itself. Although the court does not determine whether an impeachable officer may be removed or disqualified from political office, it emphasized that it has the duty to construe the process mandated in the Constitution. In declaring that the articles of impeachment were barred by the one-year rule, the decision differentiated the first 3 complaints from the 4th complaint. The first 3, it said, were filed under Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution, which allows any citizen to file a verified complaint with an endorsement by any House member. The 4th one was through Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 4 of the Constitution, through a verified complaint or resolution filed by at least 1/3 of the House members. The court took note that the House in the 19th Congress did not act on the first 3 endorsed complaints, which were considered terminated or dismissed upon adjournment of the House. The 3 impeachment complaints were archived and therefore deemed terminated or dismissed on February 5, 2025. Therefore, no new impeachment complaint, if any, may be commenced earlier than February 6, 2026, the Supreme Court held. Under Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution, no impeachment proceedings shall be initiated against the same official more than once within a period of 1 year. According to the decision, the 1-year bar is reckoned from the time an impeachment complaint is dismissed or is no longer viable. A key issue in the petitions is whether the House complied with the 10-session day requirement under the Constitution for including a verified impeachment complaint in the order of business of the House. The court ruled that the House was able to comply with the requirement by putting the 3 endorsed impeachment complaints in the order of business of the House of Representatives, since a session day is not equivalent to a calendar day. It is a period that starts from a call to order until the session is adjourned, regardless of the passage of time. However, the court reminded the House that Article 11, Section 3, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution clearly requires that a verified impeachment complaint be immediately put in the order of business within 10 session days from its endorsement. The Constitution does not grant either the Secretary General or the Speaker of the House any discretion to determine when this period commences. Consequently, the House of Representatives is not granted any discretion except to refer these matters to the proper committee within 3 session days. However, the House may opt to consolidate all impeachment complaints properly commenced and endorsed within these periods. The court also determined that due process applies to the impeachment process. It laid down the following due process requirements in impeachment proceedings. First, the articles of impeachment or resolution must include evidence when shared with the House members, especially those who are considering its endorsement.